Alright, guys, I'm going to do dungeon recording here. So let's go. Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be going over the final dungeon that is part of 4.0's main scenario. That's right, the final dungeon in Stormblood. There are expert dungeons after this, but this will be the final dungeon that is part of the main scenario quest. Beginning of the video, the title of the video I made sure was spoiler free, but at this point you have to know the name of it just for the sake of the video. It is indeed Alamigo. Alamigo is the final dungeon as part of Stormblood's initial story quest. Now, unlike the problems that plagued Aethelgard Research Facility, this dungeon actually has a lot going for it. It drops item level 300 gear, which makes it an excellent way for you to gear up before going into any of the other content. It also even has some enemies that drop grade 5 and can even drop grade 6 materia. So it is far better than Aethelgard Research Facility in terms of reward for playing it. And of course, if you are max level, well, we know you will be max level. Of course, it does also drop Tomestones of Verity, which you can use to pick up the new item level 310 gear from the Tomestones of Verity vendor. For the most part, the trash is, at this point, we've been fighting Garleans for a while. You should be kind of familiar with the way the trash works. We're doing a big pull here because it is a level 70 dungeon, and quite a few of the people in the dungeon have already beaten it and have already geared up from some of the dungeons before. Obviously, if you're still working with some of the lower item level gear, things are going to hit harder, but this should be the point where you start having item level outscale some of the enemies as the patches go and go and go. I'd also like to remind anyone who hasn't, if your server issues are not all that bad, I'd recommend completing your level 70 job quest before getting here. That way you could pick up your level 70 job ability, and you can pick up, it gives you a 290 weapon and 5 pieces of item level 290 gear, your artifact 3 gear, just to be even more clear. And that can help you with this dungeon. It can help you with your initial level 70 item level. So the first pull, we mobbed everything up and did them together. We're going to be doing mostly big pulls here. Don't feel pressured to do big pulls, though. Make sure, especially if you're trying to enjoy this dungeon for the first time, that you go at it at your own pace. Oh, so this happened to me the last time where I turned the corner and then these two Legion Rotors were there. That's the first real hazard you'll have to deal with in the dungeon, are those two Legion Rotors. Just make sure you're paying attention when you go around the corner. You don't have to stop like I did. You can also go along the sides right over here in order to avoid it. You should be okay. So other than that, though, these Magna Rotors, similar to the Magna Rotors we fought in some of the earlier dungeons, have similar attacks. They have the wheel cleave attack, so make sure that, you know, as a healer, you're not standing right next to the main tank, or things are going to hurt. We got another Centurion and a few Laquarius and a Hoplomachus. In case anyone's wondering why you're not seeing the Bahamut using Akmorn as well, I have effects turned off. I normally play with effects turned off. I've been playing with effects turned on for the last couple of months, just doing the more casual content. But whenever I'm doing things like progression, I tend to turn them off so I can not be distracted by anything. I gotta, where do I have my macros? Goad. There we go. Sorry, I've been telling myself to put my mouse over macro for goad on my hotbar for a while, and I just, well, haven't. So after that second set of trash, you have the first boss, which is the Magitek Scorpion. Yes, it is a play on the Scorpion from Final Fantasy VII, the first boss. So the first mechanic he has is this right here. It's like a homing missile that'll slowly follow a player. I personally just stand still, and then when it locks on like that, move out the way. It does leave that puddle behind, though, so be careful. So this right here, when you see the double line AoEs, they are persistent AoEs. They're channeled. So don't move back after you've avoided the AoE. Make sure you stay away from the front and rear of the boss during that AoE until you see all the effects disappear. As you can see, he also has that jump attack where he does some AoE damage. Now, as the fight goes on, that attack where he searches for targets for missiles, more and more of them will spawn. As you can see, we have 4 at this point. Well, I'm going to have to... This is going to kind of suck. I've got a little bit of room here to melee the boss. I believe this one he'll do 2 target searches in a row. No, he might not do that till a little bit. Nah, he did them all at once. There we go. That's what I'm actually going to drop outside of melee range. So as you can see, these puddles stick around just long enough to be a bother, especially for this part where he does 2 laser attacks back to back and also drops puddles on the players back to back. So it can get a little tight, but I mean, at this point, dodging AoEs, you should be a pro at it. So just make sure you don't drop those AoEs in a place that make it hard for you to sit in melee range. Alright, and that's the first boss. See? Treasure Coffer, item level 300 armor. Another slaying ring. I actually got quite a few slaying pieces from the first dungeon. So in terms of my gear, I'm feeling pretty good. Well, as soon as it falls into my inventory, that is. So this is the part of the dungeon where you're going to start seeing materia drop into your inventory. I believe specifically it's the dogs, maybe these Avengers as well. I think it's just these. Yeah, there's 4 dogs up here, or 5 dogs up here. Each of these dogs has a chance of dropping grade 5 and grade 6 materia. Again, huge pull here. Do not feel pressured to do this pull at this size. It is not the preferred way to do it. These are people who have, got through the level 70 stuff really fast and have run this dungeon quite a few times, have geared up already with Verity and whatnot. So it's they're not people who are freshly geared for level 70, if that makes sense. So I'm seeing some materia drop into our inventory. Let's see, we got a Savage Aim 5. We've got an Intelligence 5. I think there's still 1 or 2 more. There's a Mind 5, another Savage Aim 5, a Dexterity 5. So yeah, grade 5 materia drops from this dungeon. We got 2 grade 6 materias in the first run of this we did, before I did this recording. I think it was Quick Arm 6 and Mind 6 were the 2 that we ended up getting. These mobs do have a bit more health and they shoot a lot more AoEs. And in terms of the pull you just saw, it's a bunch of AoEs, it's a bunch of direct damage. So just be careful. Also, these Avengers have mini tank busters, which has been normal. Avengers before this point have had mini tank busters. I did not mean to use Brotherhood there. I mean, it's only 90 seconds, but it means it won't be up for the boss. The Paladin had actually asked me to goad him on cooldown for AoE deeps. Unfortunately, I was kind of too focused on the commentary for the dungeon. Made that mistake. So once you clear all the enemies up to this gate, the cannon will turn on the gate. There's a treasure coffer over there if you want it. Worth getting, especially because people are still trying to get armor from this stuff. And then you move on to the second boss, Alice Mal Asina. This boss has one mechanic that you kind of got to watch out for, but for the most part shouldn't cause too many problems. So you saw that AoE, then you have Order to Change right here, which is just these Magitek bits. He's going to drop some AoEs on us as well. Those are each from the Magitek bits. And then they just do all the normal Magitek bit patterns. So at this point you fought a bunch of Magitek bits. You should kind of be used to it. Magitek Disruptor is a fun one. So it stuns you, pulls your body to a specific location, and then goes to extract your soul. So your goal, see this line from me to the unconscious adventurer? My goal is to get to me without getting hit by any AoEs or touching the prototype Deathclaw. So my mind is running back to my body. So as you can see, I was grabbed. I kind of got sandwiched there, so I got knocked out of the AoEs, though, so I'm actually pretty good on that front. And then once you're back in your body, you can kill off these prototype Deathclaws, which have standard Deathclaw attacks. And then from this point on, the dungeon should be a breeze. I mean, this boss should be a breeze. Order to change again is the Magitek bits. Order to fire is the attack that causes them to execute their AoEs. As you can see here later on, they did different ones. We also have these marked AoEs, which are just don't stack up on each other. That's demi-magics. That actually comes from the boss, not from the Magitek bits. And we're good. I already have this. There we go. Picking up a good amount of I-300 gear. Plus the Tombstone Severity. So now for this trash, you actually have untargetable signifiers shooting party members with fire. You can see that I'm taking these fire hits from them on occasion. Doesn't really do enough to care. That one did about 3,000. I took all three of them, and each of them did about 3,000. So I actually could have taken quite some burst damage there. And then you also just have these regular mobs to deal with. We're actually killing the laser field while they AoE down the other ads. And this time I remembered to goad. Run forward, get a bunch of these Legion slashers here. There's going to be more enemies that drop materia that aren't dogs coming up. Looks like our summoner is going to run for that, for the loot that was over there. We're running this all the way to the next Magitek field gate. And there should be 2 enemies here, I think, that drop materia, if I recall from the first time I did this dungeon. Most of these enemies will die pretty quick. Yeah, good place to use the caster LB. Definitely a solid place. It'll be more efficient than using it on the boss. And besides, the boss is actually pretty long, so you might actually get the opportunity to generate another limit break on the boss. So we got Intelligence 6 materia, Quick Arm 6 materia, and Battle Dance 6 materia from some of the mobs right there. And this guy will also drop a materia. And from that guy, we got... Oh, never mind. I guess he didn't. There must have been another small enemy last time I did it. Oh, there's also an S rank up right now in the Ozim Steppe. In instance number 2. Wish I could go there right now, but I'm here for the long haul. These guys are just your standard Colossus enemies. You shouldn't have any issues with these guys. They have a little bit more health, but that's about it. Hey, Bahamut, what's going on? That's one down. Did not give grade 6 materia. Just so everyone knows. I was hoping for maybe a weapon, maybe from the last boss, if I'm lucky. And here we go to the last boss. I think some of us saw this coming. It is indeed Zenos Galvis. Who for the most part has a bunch of AoEs that you'll kind of have to learn by name in order for you to get through them. But we'll explain them as we go. So if you touch the outside of the arena, it'll actually give you a debuff that reduces the damage you deal. And while you stand in it, it'll deal damage over time. So he's got several sword arts that you need to look out for. One for each of his 3 swords. That one you saw right there was Art of the Swell. It's a wind aspected ability and will knock you back. So your goal is to get as close to the middle of the room as possible in order to avoid being knocked into the outside. Art of the Storm is just a little AoE that happens right around the center of the room. So just back off slightly and then go back in after it finishes. Art of the Sword just shoots a bunch of... So this was weird. So it basically just does a bunch of line AoEs. The first time I did it, I thought I didn't take damage. So it was a lot weirder then. But basically, everyone just needs to not stand in a line between each other. So standing just on opposite sides of the boss is the safest thing you can do. So this attack right here is it's gonna tether to one player, and then after the tether finishes, it's gonna do a giant tonal AoE. So your best bet is actually to face that towards the wall, since, you know, that's just the easiest way to do it. Covers the least amount of space. And from this point on, there's only one, I believe, mechanic you haven't seen, and it's sort of his like super attack mechanic. This also just does AoE damage, this Contrap, this, I just can't say it for some reason. It's too early in the morning for me. It's the same AoE he did in all the other situations. In all the other, like, mini encounters you had with him. There it is again. Concentravity. I don't know. I'm close. Okay, so this is his super attack. So you can see he has the ether transfer. Basically, he sends each one of his swords to a location. And your goal is to kill all the swords and do all their mechanics simultaneously while killing them before his ether transfer fills. The more ether transfer, the higher damage he does. So it's basically your time limit. And each of these swords does each of the sword mechanics. The Storm Sword does the Storm mechanic. The Ame no Habakiri does the Sword of Art mechanic. And then he sometimes dashes and does this as well, where he'll do the individual arts. So you can see he did Art of the Swell right there. He like dashed out and did Art of the Swell. And then he also did Art of the Storm. So it's basically just mixing and matching all the mechanics you already saw from him. Passage of Arms. Looks good. Then he'll dash to each sword, jump back to the middle, do a bunch of damage. I didn't even keep anything. I wanted to use Earth's Reply. I didn't even get to keep anything. We even got a full LB2 even after using our LB on that pack prior. And that's it. I even got the card. Again, you can see the loot, item level 300. Didn't get my weapon, but that's perfectly okay. I did get some things from that dungeon. Oops. That's not what I wanted to do. There you go. I wanted to do that. Alright, and that's going to be a wrap for my walkthrough and guide to Ala Mhigo. I will have a more official and professional looking guide in the coming weeks after I finish my 24/7 event over on Twitch. So be sure to look out for that. But for now, this will have to do. My best wishes to anyone still working on some of the instance quests and stuff like that. I feel for you. I know it's been a problem for a lot of people. So hopefully, when you get to it, you'll have these walkthroughs waiting for you whenever you do get to them. So fingers crossed that it's soon. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap up. I gotta go do the next guide or walkthrough thing. It's not going to be the same as this one, but you'll understand when you see it. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.